What is up, party people, and welcome to another episode of Off the Rack. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
What is so funny about being party people?
I
We
know,
are people ready to party.
Just never know how you're going to start this show.
Neither do I.
To realize.
That's the thing, right?
I know, but like you have like a kind of like a
cadence,
a standard.
I do.
And a cadence,
I have a pretty good state
and an energy that you bring. And then when for you to do that, I'm like, okay,
yeah,
hi,
you got to keep up.
I am keeping
10 years. You know what you're doing by now.
I don't know what I'm doing.
It's almost 11 years now. Not doing this so specifically, but
doing shows.
Back issues will be March of next year. Will be 11 years.
Wow, I can't believe how long we've been doing this show.
I know
this show's had a lot of versions of it.
Yeah, well, it's really only had two versions. There were three versions. There was the all boys version,
yes,
which had to change, or die, and then there was the Tiffany and Ben version, and then there was the live show with Tiffany and Sal.
Yeah, well, Sal, you were also on the Tiffany and Ben version.
Yeah,
it wasn't just us.
Well, no, but yeah, well, it was always going to be me. It wasn't like you and Ben were going to do the show without me.
Yeah, just me and Ben.
I mean, that would have been fun.
Let's read comics.
I was more than happy to let that happen. When I first pitched this whole enterprise, I was like, I will produce it, and then you guys will do the shows. And you guys were like, under no circumstances is that going to happen. We're not going to do that.
We were not like that.
No, well, no, you weren't like, well, Ethan was like that, but only after he did like a dozen episodes off the rack.
Ethan was like that.
It was over. And I was like, oh my God, are you quitting everything? He's like, no, I just don't want to read comics every week. And I was like, oh, that's fine.
He didn't want a reading assignment.
Which I completely, it's a completely acceptable.
But that's what makes Ethan such a great back issues.
Oh yeah,
like host.
But he does like to read. It's just fun because he'll be like, he's very selective, and when he does, it's exciting. So I'm like, oh man, he seems to be really excited about this idea.
And that's what I think is great about Ethan, is that he wants to read the things he wants to read. With Off the Rack, sometimes we read stuff that we find out, oh, we didn't like that, you know. And like I think Ethan was like, I don't want to go through that.
Yeah, no, there were the thing was, because it was still like figuring things out and like ironing out the details. Yeah, he read a lot of crap.
Well, yeah, because you were assigning books. You're like, we're reading these 3 books. That was the idea. It was like GBU meets this show.
Yeah.
And so anyway.
So if you want to see what that's like, go to youtube.com/ComicPop and check out the oldest videos we've made. But otherwise, we want to thank you for being here. Of course, the show is sponsored by viewers like you. If you're watching the show live, you can sponsor today's show by using Super Chats. Ask a question or comment, read it here on the show, and be part of the show forever. Of course, this is a show where we talk about comic books that came out the past week. And we're going to talk about those, and then we're going to pick out a book of the week.
Heck yeah.
And we'll answer your questions at the end of the show.
That's
and recommend comics that come out this week.
There's a lot we're going to be going on.
Yeah.
So what's the news? I think I know what the news is because it's looming just outside of frame.
This isn't really news. This is more just like an update because I have great news for myself, and that is that my DC versus Marvel, which should be called Crossover Classics, but I'll let it slide, has arrived. My Omnibus is here. It arrived actually on Thursday.
So if you'd like to go back to last week's video where Sal was talking about this, and he was like, it was Monday, and he's like, it says it's going to be here by Friday, but we all know that's not going to happen. That was Sal the whole week. And then lo and behold, showed up on Thursday.
Came a day early, even though a lot of people got theirs earlier than me.
But I'm just saying, you were all like, it's never going to get here.
I'm hyped. I love it. It's great. See this beautiful spine that features all the characters that you can see in the book.
Would you like me to hold this?
And it also has the superior George Perez cover from the original volume of Crossover Classics, which of course, if it's going to do that, it's going to recreate the back cover too, which is also by George Perez, just featuring all the crossovers from the first volume of Crossover Classics. But this one will have all the crossovers, which I'm thrilled about. That said, I do have a gripe or two about, at the very least, the choice in lettering / logoing. So
that they didn't wait to use the bullet.
They didn't wait to use the bullet, which was the original DC logo on the original DC versus Marvel crossover.
But this got pushed back, so this should have been published when they still were using that logo.
Yes. This came out post DC logo change, but was printed pre DC bullet logo change back.
Yes.
So the new DC logo is being used, but there's 2 other weird things about it. Number 1, they're using the DC versus Marvel logo lettering from the DC versus Marvel event. Which featured the bullet logo.
Right, but is the Marvel logo the same as it was?
No.
Yeah, so they're just using both modern logos.
I know, but DC versus Marvel, the event, is not in this DC versus Marvel Omnibus. That will be in the DC Marvel Amalgam Omnibus, which may never come out. but right now is scheduled to be shipped in February of 2025. That's how bad it is. But yeah, otherwise it's gorgeous.
That's not bad. 2025. Did you say January?
February.
Okay, it's like the second month.
But it was supposed to be out already. That's how bad it is. But well, yeah,
I'm coming on Thursday.
If it does, I'll let you know. But yeah, it's exciting. This is a great volume, and I know that there's like oversized books, like the Superman Fantastic Four book is a larger print, which means they just shrink it down, which is a shame. But you know, it is what it's out, and we got it, and I'm thrilled. So yeah,
you haven't even opened it.
No, yeah, that's right. JLA Avengers is also not in this.
Uh-oh.
Which I'm hoping is because they're waiting to put out an oversized hardcover for it. I know they're not, but like, wouldn't that be nice? And it got me thinking about like kind of not news, but more of a discussion, which I don't really want to take over the show.
Well, okay, well then hang on one second. I love that the back cover here with the Perez art makes you think for a second that there's going to be a crossover between Darkseid and Phoenix, and I'm like, I'd like to see that.
There is.
Is there?
Yeah, Dark Phoenix and Darkseid team up.
Okay. But like on this side, it's showing you the Darkseid Galactus book.
Yes, because that's also in this. They were the first crossover classics only featured the crossovers that are featured on the cover.
And the Fantastic Four and the Joker?
Well, that doesn't happen.
But that's what it says on the bottom.
I know, it just shows them.
Oh, okay.
These are characters that will be in the book.
But everyone else is seemingly matched up with their... Well, okay, is Wonder Woman Dr. Doom?
Wonder Woman does face Dr. Doom, but it is not in a Wonder Woman Dr. Doom crossover. It is in a Spider-Man Superman crossover, which you were on the episode for, which featured Parasite and Dr. Doom.
Oh, yeah.
It was horrible.
Right, but it wasn't like just those two.
No. But Wonder Woman, the Hulk, and Dr. Doom are all in it.
Nice.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
It is great. It's also heavy.
It is. Well, it features all of them. The other thing is, there's another version of this, of course, with brand new Jim Lee art that I didn't get. And actually, it's funny because Ethan and I saw the colorist for that cover was featured at New York Comic Con. They were tabling, and they had a big poster, which was, I think, $200. And I was like, nope. But Ethan and I were kind of just like pulling art critique. It was then the end of the show. We're just looking at it and I'm talking about how horrible the composition is. And we were just in agreement on the fact that like it is kind of ugly. Like Jim Lee art is great, but like that composition ain't. It's just a mess.
Well, I mean, that sounds like a subjective opinion.
Yes, exactly. I feel like it is gross and ugly. But I saw it implemented as a cover and I was like, oh, that's not bad. Like, I get it, but don't look at it too hard. Cause like,
don't look at it.
You can't really like focus on like where anyone is in space. It's just kind of like a mess.
But if you got that one,
I don't blame you. I think it's great. I understand why you got it. It's Jim Lee art portraying all the DC Marvel crossovers. That's friggin' amazing. For some, it's like the first time we've seen Jim Lee draw Wolverine in like 25, 30 years. But yeah. So anyway, that's cool. But it got me thinking. What
Can I put this someplace now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go put it someplace safe.
Just put it down. But one of my questions that I had, and I asked Joshua Williamson because I feel like he and I actually talked about this already. So if we did, and you folks at home who are watching this show, you're obviously subscribed to youtube.com/ComicPop Returns, and you had the bell for notifications so you know when we're going live or when we're releasing new videos. And one of those shows is with Joshua Williamson, writer of Dark Crisis and Superman All-Stars, where we talk about like comics and movies and stuff. But I asked him about it because I was like, have we talked about this already? The idea that the ages in comics need new definitions and terminologies and a general consensus on what we're calling them.
But who gets to decide that?
Whoever decided that we called it golden, silver, bronze.
But you know what I mean?
But we need to know. We like inquiring minds need to know.
But someone say that they've already done that.
Yeah, who and when and where can I cite this? You know, because right now, I believe we're still in the modern age, although I've heard people refer to ages like diamond and so forth. I don't know if that's true or accepted, but I've seen it used in like comment sections. But from, I think, like 1985 until I started reading comics, it was the modern age. But like Spawn came out over 30 years ago. And the ages, you know, between like silver and bronze I mean, we're talking like a decade.
Mm,
You know, the Silver Age starts, I think, in 1957. You know, the Golden Age, I guess it's just whenever. But I'm just wondering, like, do you call the current age you're in now the modern age, or do you date what we called the modern age by calling that the modern age, and now we call them eras again?
It sounds like what you're suggesting is that some of the big or the comic book, like someone,
an arbiter of the culture needs to make this decision.
No, doesn't need to make this decision. Needs to put together a task force, because everyone loves a good task force.
I do love a task
force. And it
force.
needs to have representatives from like the big two, and then others, you know, who can come along from other comic book companies and like talk about it, along with maybe some historians.
Yep.
Like professors in college and such.
Yeah.
To chat about this.
Yeah.
And then come up with something and see if people want to use it.
I mean, like, the thing about academia and imposing a term on eras and ages is that you don't get to decide, and that it is just decided for you. Like, for example, I believe, and this is just from citations of people who lived in that era, I believe that Gen Xers were referred to by George H.W. Bush as tweeners because they existed in a between stage, that like the culture just said, no, we're not going to call ourselves tweeners. And, you know,
took a swing.
But I can imagine, you know, people, I mean, I used to call the like 2000s era the event age. But again, I would defer to academia on this.
Yeah.
Do you have any terms you'd like to throw out there? Just to,
I haven't thought about it.
I'm just saying.
No, but it feels like
it's a live show.
Well, I understand that, but like I feel like obviously, like, you know, bronze, gold, and silver. Like it's like they had thoughts on it, and like but like really that
the bronze, they just were like, I don't know, bronze.
Yeah, yeah. And then post that, it just feels like it needs to have significance.
Yeah, and it has to like encompass.
Well, it has to like take a page from art history. Like you need to look at it.
Thank you.
And then name from there.
Yes.
And I'm not saying use words from there, but like think about, you know, how they ascribe names to movements and then move from there. I don't know. I just feel like there's a way to do this.
There is. That's what I'm saying. There is a way to do it, and we haven't. And we need to figure that out because there's we have a lot of vacancies in our culture that need to be identified, categorized, and then put into some kind of a slot, because nothing can exist in a free-flowing system. It needs to be named, labeled, and packaged. At the very least, just to keep things straight. I'm, of course, being facetious, but I do want to at least be able to refer to like what was the 90s? You know, I do love calling the 90s the modern age because of how not modern it is now by comparison.
Right.
Like it's modern should be like with quotes or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just but it's a query that I'm like not done bringing up and tasking our betters with.
Yes.
Like, yo, come up with something.
Yeah.
You know?
Lead.
Because the other thing is, like, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to be like, that's fi. I'm just, you know, but decide, you know, be deciders. So, yeah, I like Teflon. That's not necessarily true because Teflon implies nothing sticks, but in the 90s, a lot of things stuck.
But they were also throwing a lot.
They were
out there.
They were.
I
That's
don't
true.
know.
That's true. So anyway, let's just jump into some comics that are coming out or that are out.
They did come out.
Yeah, they did. I read Predator versus Black Panther #3, and it pains me to talk about this. It's by Ben Percy and Chris Allen. This book is, and I was talking to a friend about this recently. This book is hurting what should be a renaissance of Predator crossovers that Marvel is deigning to engage themselves in because it's so not good. And when I say not good, I don't mean to suggest that like it's a poor comic, because as we've established and people have said, greater people than me, that no one sets out to make a bad comic. And Predator versus Black Panther isn't necessarily a bad comic, but it ain't good. First of all, it's ugly.
Yeah.
And it's inconsistent, artistically speaking. You know, in the previous 2 issues, it took at least 2 artists, if not 3 artists, to put out 1 book a piece. And it is just not helping.
Right.
The other thing is the fact that it is firmly not in continuity is frustrating because the same creator who did the first Predator Marvel crossover.
Oh, you mean in continuity with the Predator?
With anything.
Oh, well, I mean, like,
No, I mean,
I
like,
wouldn't have expected it.
Predator Wolverine could be in continuity. Ben Percy wrote it such that it could be in continuity
Sure.
if you chose. Predator versus Black Panther is firmly outside of continuity. It is just making no attempt to fit or not fit.
But that's okay.
Of course it's okay. But if you're making this on the heels of the previous one, which was kind of Schrodinger's continuity, it's just, what are we doing? And if you're going to make it wildly inconsistent with its predecessor, then get a completely different creative team. Like, why does Ben Percy get to do a wildly different Predator crossover when I'm sure there are plenty of people at Marvel who would love to do a Predator crossover? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the only person who knows what the Yautja are is the only one qualified to do it. I don't know. I don't want to speak against it, but I'm just saying, like, it's an ugly book and it's frustrating because it's also very boring and it shouldn't be. And the art really pulls away from it. Like, it pulls away any action sequences when there are forgivably action sequences. And this issue in particular was chock full of them.
Mm-hmm.
Predator fighting the Dora Milaje and Black Panther. But they're ugly. And the sequences are not terribly dynamic and they're not very exciting. And honestly, it just seems a little rushed. And I'm like, why would you rush a Predator Black Panther book?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. I don't know why you would rush a book like this. Why would you we need to get this out now. Like, no, you need to get Predator versus Wolverine out to establish that, like, we're doing this, which I, again, like, kind of not ate crow. I bit my tongue with that book where I'm like, why are there 3 artists on this book? Why is one of them Greg effing Land? You know, but it was only on one issue. And the rest of the series, all the artists they chose brought their A game.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand, you know, let's get that book out there. Let's get the Predator name out there. Let's establish we own this property and we're unifying it with our other known properties. But, like, I don't know, this Black Panther book, it's a mystery.
I get that.
And I'm hoping that there's more Predator crossovers on the horizon, but this kind of thing doesn't help. You know?
Yeah, I understand.
It gives out a false belief that people don't want it. And it's like, no. They don't want
this,
an inferior product, which unfortunately this is.
Gotcha. No, I get it. I get what
I don't want to rag on it because I know everyone working on it is bringing their A game, or at the very least, I would hope they are. But it's not selling Predator and it's not selling Black Panther. You know, I'm not interested in either of these characters by way of this book. This book is not doing anything or anybody any justice.
Right.
And it, like, tricks you into thinking that, like, Ben Percy isn't very good or Chris isn't very good. Like, this, it's not, it's not good for anybody.
I get you.
So it's a shame.
I get that.
It's a damn shame. I'm done reading it. Like, I'm out.
Oh, how many books?
I don't. There could be only one more. I'll have to check. But, like,
you're like, if there is, maybe I'll read that.
No, there's only one more issue, and I'm good. I'm out.
Wow. Okay.
You know, because I don't need to. That's the thing. I don't need to know what happens.
I understand that.
That's a shame. But what about you?
I read Ultimate X-Men number 8 this week by Peach Momoko.
Naturally.
Yeah. I mean, this is a book that I desperately wish was just out.
Yes.
Like, I just wish it was out because it's just that the story flows so well that the hard stop at the end of the
it's just
20 some pages. I'm like, all right, I gotta wait another month.
Yeah, another month.
That said, the story continues on as we're, like, leading obviously more into
an actual team,
kind of, or just, like, introducing more mutants and getting a feel for who they are meant to be akin to.
Sure.
Which I appreciate. While also, sowing the seeds of mistrust between the Children of the Atom cult and the rest of Japan.
Okay.
And I'm like, this is interesting the way that they're handling this. And right now, I'm like, not necessarily on the side of the cult side, obviously.
Yeah.
But I really just want this all to be out. That said, the lexicon at the end, the lexicon extra page, wasn't just lexicon stuff. There was history and information in here, but it was also a mini comic.
Oh, that's fun. So you got a little extra comic.
Yeah, it was talking about how, like, in October, like the days start to get shorter.
Mm.
And so like it gets dark sooner. So like, if you're at school and like it start like, it's, you're hanging out, chatting and stuff like that. Like the teachers are like, all right, you have to go home because it's getting dark. It's getting too dark. You have to leave. If you forget something, like you basically have to go back to this like empty, dark school. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So it's like, if you do that, like they're like, and maybe she ends it with like this last panel, like just this like shadowy figure sitting in the classroom and being like, maybe you'll find someone who isn't from this place. I'm like,
no.
Why? And I know why, because this came out last week, right before Halloween.
Yeah.
So I get what you're doing there, Peach, but
right. But also, it's spooky.
It's spooky. It's spooky for sure. But yeah, I seriously do love this book. I love her art. I love having just the faintest idea of like, oh, I know sort of who these characters are.
Yeah.
But it's new. This is truly an Ultimate Universe in that it's completely different. And if you're trade waiting on this one, I think you will be heavily, heavily rewarded. That said, I'm not upset reading it month to month because I still want the story now. I want to know what's going on every month that it comes out.
Yeah.
But I do look forward to being able to have it all in one and be able to experience the story as a whole.
Now, here's my question to you as a firm reader of multiple Ultimate books, including Black Panther, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men.
Yeah.
The universe is a cohesive world where all these things are supposedly happening in one spot, even though Ultimate Spider-Man does feel pretty divorced from Black Panther, etc.
Right.
Would you feel excited or disappointed to see your Ultimate X-Men in like the Ultimates, for example?
So, I mean, like obviously if they were there, it wouldn't be written by Peach.
Right.
But I think that might be fun, honestly. I do love this world that she's crafting. But it is sort of nice to consider them not just in a
vacuum.
Yes, not in a vacuum. I mean, right now they are on an island in a way.
That's true.
And maybe that's why I'm also enjoying this now. But no, I can see kind of like initially I was like, how are we gonna weave this in? But like I'm starting to get an idea of how we might see this if it were to become part of the grander world of the Ultimate Universe that Hickman has put together here. I think it could work for sure. But you're still dealing with children. So there is also that where it would be
but
like,
I mean, it's the Young Avengers. That is the X-Men.
I know, right? Like that would truly be like an X-Men experience where it's just like you have these other heroes who are like,
what are these little kids doing?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm into it, and I would definitely check it out if they did crop up in other books.
Cool.
For sure.
Okay, that's nice. Well, I read Captain America 14. This is from Babylon 5 creator J. Michael Straczynski with art by Carlos Magno. This is entirely just because Spider-Man's on the cover. I was like, oh, JMS on Spider-Man, you say? I'm in.
Right.
And fool me once, shame on you. Shame me. Can't be fooled again. But yeah, Spider-Man is actually in this book, though it is JMS. It's his interpretation, I think, of like modern Spider-Man, which I think is kind of funny. Like if you get the impression that JMS is resentful of how they treated him / how they ended his run.
Yeah.
Then in a post One More Day world, JMS writing Spider-Man as like a pathetic loser in a darkened apartment, thinking about calling Captain America to like hang out one day is kind of funny.
Okay.
Because Peter Parker, I would argue, since One More Day has been like an impotent jackass. And seeing the man who made Peter Parker exciting to me again, tackle him again and portray him as exactly that is a little gratifying. That said, I also love Spider-Man and I don't want to see him be a loser, even though I do firmly believe he is one. Or at least that Marvel will never stop making him one. But it's interesting to see this relationship because, of course, like JMS also portrayed these two, Cap and Peter, like doing things together. They worked on the same team, even though no one refers to it, including Babylon 5 creator J. Michael Straczynski.
Well, he makes his own continuity.
Yeah, but he also created his own little team here because JMS tackled this Captain America book for 14 issues, but he also wrote what was in a pre-Al Ewing world, one of the most exciting and seminal runs on Thor and Spider-Man. So look at these three characters that JMS wrote, teaming up and hanging out.
Right.
And it's interesting because we're also like dealing with the Broxton, Oklahoma of it all. He introduced the idea of Broxton and Asgard, and looming over and everything that fell in between. And so JMS is like, I'm gonna deal with that in my Captain America book because nobody wants to talk about like Nazis and Israel. So I'm gonna just cover this. I'm just gonna deal with the fallout of my book that I had to leave, and now I'm back. So here's Thor, Spider-Man, and Captain America, and they all like team up. And they're going to team up seemingly for if not the lifespan of this series, because I don't think it's long for this world, but certainly for this arc. And I'm like, okay, I will read this.
You're like, okay,
yeah,
yay.
I'm like, okay, maybe Cap will like hit Peter in the head with his shield and he'll snap out of it. Probably not, since editorial's in charge of that. But I do think it's cute. Like, it's a fun read, and it was interesting to see those characters like return and to see JMS's depictions of them. Again, in like a post-Marvel departure for him. Like, he's back, but not like firmly back. He's only doing the Captain America book. He's not an architect.
Right.
Which I firmly believe the big two are like, at the very least, Marvel is very actively suppressing. There used to be a time when like, and it's arguably the time that like helped usher in the MCU in general, which was like Bendis architecting Marvel. Like, Bendis was not an editor, but he was a superstar artist or writer at the time, and he dictated where Marvel was going to go by writing New Avengers and all the events for the most part, outside of Mark Millar's event. But he kind of drove the line and dictated the universe. And so when people wanted to know what was going to happen in Marvel, they had to ask Bendis, not the editors, not the editor-in-chief even. And even when they did, the editor-in-chief would say something kind of smarmy and silly.
Right.
Because he's also a carnival barker. I could see the current Marvel, the post-Disney acquisition Marvel, being like, we're never going to give creatives that much power ever again.
Right.
Like, creators are tools that we control. I mean, we didn't talk about this. There's a great looking Ryan Stegman cover for the X-Men book I dropped.
Okay.
Where Cyclops is like whipping his head and like blasting optic power at all of his enemies in like a 360 degree.
Okay.
Tom Brevoort drew the sketch and gave it to Stegman and was like, this is the cover I want to see for X-Men. And then posted it on social media. He was like, this is the sketch for the cover that I dictated Ryan Stegman draw for the next run for X-Men. And I was like, that's gross. I hate that.
Well,
I hate that a lot.
If it happens occasionally, like you're like, I got an idea.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see this.
Yeah.
Like, all right. But like, if you're doing that all the time and you're not letting the artist, do its thing.
Yeah.
Or do their thing.
I mean, I wouldn't tell Stegman what to draw. Dude knows what to draw.
Maybe he thought of it as a commission.
That also was his job.
Well, yes.
Just weird. It's just weird. And the reason why I even brought it up is because I feel like it's oddly reminiscent of what I'm talking about, or emblematic of what I'm talking about, where I'm like, I don't think Marvel wants to let any single creator or any group of creators for that matter have enough power to be able to tell them what's going on. Because I feel like,
well, it's really weird to even think about it like that.
Yeah.
Like, to think about it being like a power struggle. It's like, yes, it's a business, but it is a creative business.
Yes.
So it shouldn't be about power. It should just be about collaboratively working together in order to put out the best product you can so that you can make the greatest profit. See how you can be creative and business savvy?
I mean, I do, but I also know that like this industry is both incredibly small and insular,
I
but also has like some of the biggest egos I've ever seen in my life. And so like, as a result, you get like stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's odd to say the least, but I fear that's like why you're like, oh man, here's JMS, he's back on Captain America, and nobody cares. Like, right? Like, nobody's talking about it. It's not exciting. Here he is writing Spider-Man and Thor, and nobody's talking about it because maybe he's not allowed to do anything.
I mean, maybe nobody's talking about it because, like, other than that one time, Cap had a whole thing going on.
Oh my god. Yeah, I can see them being
like
like,
a lot of folks don't like, there are, not that I'm saying there aren't fans of Cap, but you don't hear people often talking about Cap.
No. But I mean, well, what's interesting is I have been privileged enough to live in a world where, at least when I got back into comics for like the second or third time, Captain America was an exciting property that exciting creators were on.
Yes.
You know, like the Ed Brubaker run, or the Wade Somney run, you know, or the Nick Spencer run. You know, there's like these eras for Cap, and like each one has been, if not you know, celebrated, certainly seminal and important or impactful. And so like Captain America went from being a brand that like just Mark Ruinwald wanted to write for. It was like, now it's, you could make your bones doing Captain America,
right?
But nobody gives a shit about this book, and I'm not one of them either. Like, I'm like, it's fine, but you know.
Well, you know, not every book has to like kick the door in,
doesn't it?
No.
I mean, I know that, but in order to get wherever you want to go, doesn't it? You know, in order to break through the noise, in order to get what you need, because it's not enough to just, it's not enough. It's not enough in today's world, I think. And correct me if I'm wrong, but to just do a good job. Hi, I show up to work every day and I put in my time and I work really hard and I make a good product and I hope I'm recognized for it. That's not how you succeed.
I think that, okay,
I mean, you succeed personally as a person if you do that, but like, you're not gonna get Spider-Man for that.
Whoa. Let's roll this back really quickly, because I feel like you said something that's like low-key slightly toxic. The idea that like, if you
no, I'm not agreeing with them.
Okay, but
I'm saying that is the pervasive culture at large here.
I am warning you that it sounded like you did say like you were supporting that, because like I think your success is measured in whatever you think your success is.
Oh yes,
for some folks,
measure your success
just showing up and doing the job and going home and collecting the paycheck.
I don't blame you.
That is a success.
Absolutely,
that is a success.
Yeah,
right. But if that's not what you meant, that's fair. No, I just wanted to give you an opportunity.
I was playing devil's advocate.
Fair. But that said, like I don't think that a character should be used to simply leverage you. To something greater.
I agree, but that's also not how the comic book industry works.
I understand that. But like, I feel like, you know, and again, this is the creative versus the business. It's a business. It is a business. But like the creative side of it, like you shouldn't have to just do the biggest, most bombastic thing.
I think that actually hurts books.
In order to be perceived as worthy or a better creator than someone else.
Absolutely not. I completely agree.
It's like you could just be like, okay, I'm gonna kill Captain America.
Oh yeah.
Just because I want people to pay attention to me for a second.
Yeah.
Not for a narrative reason. Not
thankfully there are safeguards in place.
Well, I would hope so.
To keep anyone from doing that. The other thing is they don't let anyone show up and kill a character.
Right.
Unless that character is not important. You know?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, hi, I'm new and I'm gonna kill Quasar. Oh no. Which one? You know?
Yeah.
But I agree with what you're saying. And I also don't believe in my point.
Yeah.
But I do believe that is the culture. Like I think that's where we are. And I think if you were bristled by that, not necessarily you, but everybody, then good.
Yeah.
You know, then listen. And you know, what are you gonna do about it?
Right. Well, I mean, I think the issue is it's a little bit like the Nightwing of it all, right? Where it's like here's a book, like you said, that it's like it is well done.
Had been
well done. It had been consistent. It had been, you know,
it's
enjoyable.
What the audience wanted.
It's a good story, but like wasn't something that was like the huge flash in the pan, right? You know, like I feel like in the Ultimate line, you know, you got on the one side you've got Ultimate Spider-Man, which for a lot of people, not that Hickman isn't a good writer, but like it's obviously it is doing really well. It's mic drop moments. It's giving fans what they want. You know, you have Ultimate X-Men doing something completely different. And you have the Ultimates where people are kind of like on the fence about it. And you have Ultimate Black Panther, which for me is a consistently good book.
Yes.
But like the problem is that it is just so consistently good without trying to do something like crazy wild out there. And like maybe that has to do with just the equation of the amount of hours you have in the day or the amount of attention span you have in a day, where it's like, well, yes, I could read the consistent thing that I know is consistent and I do want to enjoy it. Or I could read the thing that everyone else is talking about.
Absolutely.
Because I want to be able to have the conversation. I want to be in on the conversation. It's, you know, it's the same reason why we watch one of two, like not us, but like people in general, it feels like they watch like one of two things. The thing you've seen a million times and the thing everyone else is watching.
That's right.
You know, it's not like like, oh, I know that show is good, and I know I've heard really good things about it overall.
Or it looks good to me. It's exciting to me. That
well,
show
I mean, like
looks
this
good.
other show over here, where it's like people have said that this is good, and I know it's consistently good, but I don't know. I think I want to watch the thing that everyone else is talking about right now.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know. I think there's something there, for sure. When it comes to like the business side of it, obviously caring mostly about sales, control of their brand.
Yep.
Because there does seem to be this control issue.
Very.
But I mean, that seems to be in a lot of industries. You'll see that.
Yeah.
But it's so funny when you're dealing with something that is so, creative.
Yeah.
Like it's meant to be
implicitly creative.
Yes.
You are making books.
And when you have, Marvel and DC in the same pool, like obviously the two front runners, you have these two brands, and then you have these other companies around them that are so, like creator driven,
yes,
creator owned.
Yeah.
Not actually having experienced that or talked to anyone about how that works necessarily, just to have that side of it where it's just like, well, this is the story I want to tell.
Right.
And the editors are there to basically just make the story
just help you make it better. Yes,
right? As opposed to being like, well, you can't do that.
With Moon Knight. But also, you got on the other side of the fence, and that's why I really like threw that at Marvel, is because like you have Scott, literally we had an interview that 5 of you watched that had him talking about like what a creator-focused, creator-centric period it is at DC right now.
Right.
Because like Kelly Thompson's Wonder Woman is like just clearly creative driven. It is not like, oh, DC wants to go in this direction with Wonder Woman. It was, what does Kelly want to do with Wonder Woman? The Jason Aaron book is very Jason Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, all the books, like even the books like Nightwing that were kind of like under the radar, that was what Tom Taylor wanted to do with it.
Right.
And by the way, that was to some effect, like, with respect to the sales of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman from the Absolute line, high praise, high numbers.
Right.
With some of these books that like flew under the radar, maybe the wrong lessons are learned. But so that's, I mean, we're going to see give and take, push and pull from that. But I fear that the more corporate these comics get,
mm-hmm.
the more oversight, the more cooks in the kitchen. It used to be you'd have to fight editorial. Oh, no. But like editorial has a boss, and it's like not the editor-in-chief. It's like the studio head.
Yeah.
Or the marketing director of Disney, which is not going to understand the nuance of the audience that is so infinitesimal compared to the audience that they're used to making sweeping decisions about characters for.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, honestly, I'm sure for a lot of people, not a lot, I'm sure for some folks that that conversation that you, me, and Ethan had, where we talked about Spider-Man and how Spider-Man can't, like, nothing can happen to him.
Yes.
Because otherwise Sony will own it.
Yeah.
And just how much that sucks.
Completely blows. And that like there's a resentment there. There is this feeling of like, and I'm not saying because I've heard this, I'm just saying you can feel it in the text.
Yes.
This resentment of like, what's funny is that Marvel used to be like, oh, what the movies are doing, let's do that, and then hopefully we'll get sales. Now they're like, oh man.
Yeah.
Remember when we used to just make books? And now we gotta like Kevin Feige is supposedly coming over and telling us that we have to kill Ms. Marvel and make her a mutant in our Spider-Man comic book. Supposedly. Allegedly. Because Marvel has, I think, officially said, DC has never officially said that Dan DiDio was fired, but Marvel did officially say something provably false, which is that Kevin Feige went to the studio or the comic book publisher and told them to kill Ms. Marvel and make her into a mutant and give her powers similar to the one in the show. Like, I mean, come on. It's like we live in a period where it's like everybody knows. Everybody's posting, everybody's recording, everybody knows, man. Come on. Anyway,
well, we sure got off of that.
I know.
What were we on? What do you got left?
Like a few books.
Did you read Namor?
No, I missed Namor.
You're just so off of Namor. Namor. Roman.
Yes, tell me more about Namor, because I really like this book. I just didn't have a chance to read it today.
Yeah, you say you like this book. It's written by Jason Aaron with all by Paul Davidson and Alex Linz, and yet there's only one of us here reading Namor.
Well, what a shock. I mean, this book is up your alley in a bad way.
It really is. Talk about a book being consistently good that like no one's talking about. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. You're looking right at it.
Yeah.
This is freaking amazing. The fact is, if you enjoyed any like
Jason Aaron
iota
book?
of, well, no, because I think a lot of folks, his Avengers really turned them off of his writing. But if you liked anything about his Conan book, let me tell you, this is just like that, but this character that you probably know better. And also not exactly that, because obviously Conan's desire was to rule, and that is what Namor's desire is. Except Namor is also like dealing with the war of like 7 kings, essentially, right? It's like 7 folks who think that they want to be in charge of it, and Namor coming to the realization that that is going to ruin everything. And as he's trying to balance everything, this issue, Namor's like, holy crap. Am I a bad, like, it feels to me like Namor's having this motion, like this moment where he's like, do I not understand anything? Where it's just like he has these folks over here who are like, he's like, you can't do that. And then it turns out that the reason they're doing it is because they're all like, whatever. And he's like, oh my gosh, all right, we got to fix that. Well, wait, you can't do that because that'll screw it. He's like,
I never think about that. Yeah.
Like, that's what it feels like we're getting into a little bit, but it's also kind of cool because like Jason Aaron, not that Namor hasn't had moments of realization or like growth, but that just really feels like what they're dealing with here, where this is a Namor who's like getting an opportunity to reflect back on his childhood, maybe some lessons he should have learned there, and maybe they're like affecting him a little bit more now as he's facing them as an adult. But we're like really striking it as like the adult in the room, like being someone who's like, I used to totally, this was all about me, and now I'm recognizing that yes, it is all about me, but also it's not. And I'm like, good for you, man. I guess. Art's really great looking. You know, obviously we've got the 2 different styles for the current timeline for Namor, what he's actively doing when he's, you know, going against various rulers who would like to, you know, take charge of the seas. But then we also go back to his past. And that it's just been really fun, you know, and obviously like Namor's grandfather is a dick. I think if I learned nothing else from this about Namor, it's that his grandpa was a jerk.
Yeah.
Like worst grandpa ever. And bad king. Like not quite Denethor because he has his faculties, but he's like a jerk and has his faculties.
Well, and of course, Denethor wasn't even a king. As Gandalf likes to remind.
Oh, so true. Oh, so true. But yeah, you watch like Namor as like a child, like, you know, this is an interesting section because it's like he had that girl and then she betrayed him. But like after that, he still wanted to be among the people. And so he would go to like this like sea shanty town under the sea where like they were like fishermen, whatever. And like he would do things and help them out and like save them from whatever. And like they would like give him a feast. And the feast was like thimbles of food because they were the fishermen who would provide everything for there. They were not allowed to keep anything. And so they were like, he described it as meat stretched over skeletons, right? Like that's who these people were. And so like he gets drunk one night and goes to his grandfather and like just like, you gotta help this blah 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 blah. That's not.
How about I drown them instead?
Like that's not what it is.
They sound like they really matter to you. Yeah.
No, he tells him to stop going. He's like, you better stop going down there. And so like Namor does like abide by that, but then instead what he does is he like kills fish and leaves it for them without them knowing. And then like whilst Namor is off fighting some war or battle for his grandfather, he goes down there and he's just like, you're all stealing fish from me. So he takes them all and he's gonna punish them with like 100 lashes. Basically he gets them all in a room and like the folks are there to, you know, take the vengeance out on them. And like one of them goes like, how many bites did you take of food? Like, he's like, I don't know, we were so hungry. He's like, all right, 100 lashes. Namor shows up. He's like, dude, as a child, he's like, what is this?
Yeah.
He's like, it was me. I stole the food. I should take all the lashes. And so he does. And it's like, it goes on for like 5 days.
Nice.
And he's just like, they had to switch out the person with the whip.
Because they would get too tired.
Yeah, because their arm would hurt. And inevitably, all their arms hurt so much that when they would strike me, they would yell in pain. But I never said anything.
Nice.
And I'm like,
yeah, that's Namor.
Like, that's what you're missing. Oh, also, we got like an old school shot of Namor using the seahorn.
Do not use it.
But he did. But like, this is Jason Aaron for me. Like Aaron writing this incredibly like powerful, like epic fantasy story that is about Namor.
Like Marvel's like
but
one
like,
of 2 Golden Age characters.
Right. But like, you know, without making it being like total sword and sorcery, it's like, you know, Namor, yeah, he deals with like deep sea creatures, and like there's like this really cool moment where there's like the walking coral forest, and it's like the king of beasts, essentially, like the elder beast, because it's like, yes, Namor and like other rulers have used the beast as like their like machines of war, and like now we too have our tentacle on the table, essentially. But like it's just a really incredible book, and I think for folks who maybe are turned off by the fact that it's like, I don't know Namor, listen, you probably know about Namor as much as I do, right? Which is not to say that I've read a whole ton of Namor in my lifetime. Like,
no, it's true.
I've checked it out. I read a bit of the Trench, like
and
the whole
the
thing.
other book that you
the Depth. That's what it was,
the
not the Trench. I always want to call it the Trench.
Yeah, that's
well,
it's another fish guy.
Yeah, but it's just it's a really great book, and I think it's very, very approachable if you're not super familiar with this character.
Yeah.
But you just want to read something that's like epic and cool.
That's fair. Well, I need to catch up on it, like I did with Batman: The Long Halloween, the last Halloween, from Jeff Loeb. This issue in particular is by Klaus Janson, but I did read the Zero issue and the first issue. The first issue, or the Zero issue, was by the now past Tim Sale. The first issue was by Eduardo Risso, which I really enjoyed. But it's more Long Halloween. I actually forgot about Dark Victory, but this book was like quick to remind me of it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, Dark Victory. I don't really like that one as much. But the last Halloween is, it doesn't feel like a cash grab. Not so much. It's just kind of like, does Jeff Loeb still have more to say about the Holiday Killer, or more importantly, about Batman by way of a detective story that he created in the 90s that everyone's excited about? Yeah, you know what? Knock yourself out, make more. It seems fun. My only real gripe with this was the Klaus Janson art. I love Klaus Janson, but this particular issue, obviously with Tim Sale not around, each issue is going to be by a different seminal artist, and I would definitely understand a Klaus Janson decision, but it's wildly inconsistent between the three issues. In particular, like Janson's decisions, just be like, oh, what did Robin look like in the other issue? I don't care. I'm just gonna draw whatever I want. Like, Robin's gonna wear like old Dickensian boots and some long pants, even though he looked like another different version of him in the previous book. It's just like, it's a thing that happens, and I understand. And especially like, with the more like, classic artists, the more like leeway and allowances they're given, where it's just like, go draw whatever the hell you want. I'm not gonna tell you not to. I'm not gonna tell you to like that you're off model. But it is frustrating. But yeah, you get to see Batman and Jim team up, and there's a cute moment where like Barbara isn't, this isn't that issue, but like there's a previous issue where Jim is like done giving Batman like a breakdown of what the hell's going on with one thing or another, and then he's like, listen, my daughter Barbara wants to go trick-or-treating with Robin.
Okay.
And Batman leaves before he finishes his sentence, but then like later, Jim is going to take Barbara trick-or-treating, and Batman presents Robin. He's like, we agreed, didn't we? I was like, oh, that's really nice. What a cute moment.
That's nice.
From Jeff Loeb, of all people. But, it like reminded me, it's like it's like a lot of things, but it reminded me that Jeff Loeb is still capable of doing that kind of storytelling.
Right.
And this issue in particular is the same, where I'm like, okay, yeah, it's consistent, it's fun in its own way.
I really like the logo lockup.
Yes.
I think it's like I'm guessing it's the original.
The way that the Batman Long Halloween titling is similar to, if not the same as it used to be.
Okay.
I don't remember them like moving the DC logo that far in the center.
Sure. I don't mean that part. I mean like literally the title. It makes me think of like years past, I'm sure, or many a dollar bin that you've taken me to.
Yeah, no, and this is definitely it wants you to think of that.
Sure.
It's great.
Nice.
But it's fun. It's a good read. I'm like, it gave me hope for the Hattush run that's coming up from Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee.
It gave you hope.
Yeah, well, like that Loeb has like other things to say about these characters,
very fair.
And they won't be like weirdly cynical or mean.
Very, very fair.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about not that. I want to talk about We Called Them Giants.
Oh, yay!
Written by Kieran Gillen with art by Stephanie Hans. It was a original graphic novel, or OGN, that dropped this past week in comic book stores, and I believe this week it'll be in bookstores. So you'll be able to find that there. I don't know if you're actually going to be able to find a cover for this. You're going to have to look for it online. On the internet, if you will.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this was like something that I was very excited for. I had literally only seen the image as big as can be at San Diego Comic-Con for it. That is what I saw. I was like, wow.
Cool.
I can't wait to
Kieran
check
Gillen,
this out.
hooray.
I thought it was going to be a month to month. No, drops an OGN. And I got to tell you, this made me want even more for other books to just be original graphic novels. I read this whole thing today.
That's amazing. We haven't even gotten ours yet.
No, I read it. We
bought it and then
no, we had it. We got the image previews, and it was one of them.
Oh, that's really cool.
And I was reminded of that. I was like, oh my gosh, wait, because we still bought it. So I used my image previews. Thank you, Image. And read this whole thing today. My plan was to read a little bit of it. And when I checked the page count, I was 40 pages in.
Wow.
And when I checked it again, I was 70 pages in, and it was over. So it's about 100 pages. And I'm not going to tell you almost anything about this book because it is just here it is. Here's the story.
Yeah, it's a real surprise.
It's gorgeous. Stephanie Hahn's doing incredible work. If you liked her work on Die, this is like another level. She's just bringing a new energy to the page. Just really gorgeous work. This is the type of story that, tell me you haven't heard this again. It's a survivors after an apocalyptic event, right? And it's like, for me, like, I'm excited by that because I'm like, what does Kieran Gillen have to say? I think for some folks, they're like, okay, cool.
I've heard it before.
Another apocalyptic story. I can tell you right now with 100% assurance, you have not read the story.
Nice.
And while the backdrop might be that of an apocalypse, it is less about the why and more about the what happens, and is less about that apocalypse than you think it would be, and more about understanding. There is a moment in this where you're like, okay, and it might feel like initially it could be like a little silly goofy, but it's not. It's handled beautifully, and it's something that I think a lot of people will be able to understand and maybe resonate with. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of people out there. This was spectacular.
Yay.
This was absolutely spectacular.
I'm glad.
I'm not gonna, again,
you've been pitching just this initiative, the idea of like, yo, make more of these, do more of these.
I'm showing Sal a sentence right now because I don't want to tell you what it is. I'm sure someone's already spoiled everything for you, but I hope not. Please don't let someone spoil this for you. Please, if you're thinking about reading it, just go get it. I think it's actually very affordable too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's
it's an image book.
I think it's like $20 maybe. That what you're looking at right now, that is a full page.
Nice. I love when they do that.
Yeah. It's
when it's impactful. It's rare.
Yeah. I mean, the book is just
stunning.
Yep. It is stunning to look at. It's a great read. It is compelling. I was compelled to read this.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that it is an OGN, there are points where I could feel maybe he might have been writing this like issue by issue,
and then went,
but not really.
Yeah.
So like you're just reading and you're just reading and you're just reading. But like, yeah, this was compelling. I had to know more. Like, I had to know more so much that I came home. You were on the phone with someone.
Yeah.
And I ended up just finishing it, which is actually kind of why we're late, because I was like, I'm gonna just.
You're so close to being done.
Well, I didn't know, and I was just reading, and all of a sudden I was like, I think this is over,
right?
And it was. But yeah, freaking great. If you're the kind of person who prefers to trade weight, this is a book for you. Because you just had this gorgeous book that could have easily been 5 issues.
Right.
It really could have.
Right.
But it's so much more impactful and powerful to have it just in one shot.
Yeah.
Just in one go. I would love to see Image do more of this. I love to see any company do more of this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be every single book, but like every once in a while to try putting out an original graphic novel and see how it does.
Exactly.
Yeah, gorgeous story. I highly recommend, if you can track this down, it's something that you're interested in.
Well, I think you should be able to, because it's available not only in comic shops but also bookstores.
I just found it to be very, like I said, exciting and compelling.
Yeah.
It was like I couldn't put it down.
I
know
that.
You see that on the back of books.
Yeah.
But that was actually what happened. I was like, this is what it feels like to not be able to put it down.
Well, what about the other one?
I read Poison Ivy, Swamp Thing, Feral Trees #1, which I assume is
that's it.
Just #1.
Yeah, there's no.
I mean, maybe you could probably do more of this.
Yeah, there might be more, but right now the preview doesn't give us any more indications,
and that's fine. This doesn't necessarily need any more. This is written by G. Willow Wilson with art by Mike Perkins. And I want to give a shout out to colorist Mike Spicer on this as
Oh
well.
no, Mike Spicer, that's awesome.
Freaking, this book is talking about gorgeous.
Yeah.
Perkins and Spicer just doing incredible work. This book I loved, and it made me go like, I should probably go back and actually read the Poison Ivy book, because I started reading it, I fell off, and then I'll be honest with you, a thing happens where there's just so much of it that I was like, I can't catch up.
I don't
feel
blame
like
you.
I can't catch up. But like, this was a brilliant way to get folks in to be like, oh my gosh, I'd love more of this. And it's like, well, there is more. Go check it out. Yeah, like a great idea that wasn't like an annual, right? Like sometimes an annual, people are like, no, it doesn't matter.
Smart idea to make it not that.
This is just, here's a book with Poison Ivy and Swamp Thing. Just go read it, right? And like, I don't know, because I haven't read her run up to date, right? I don't know how much of this is really gonna lead in from that.
Sure.
It felt to me like they were like, the opening is like, here's a sequence, or here's a scene, I'm sure you can figure it out, moving on.
Yeah.
Right. This is a really fun book, really fun, kind of sad, really great, like conversations between Swamp Thing and Ivy, and just about like what her priorities are. And in the reflection of what Swamp Thing's priorities are, it was really well written. That's fun. Really well done. The story that is, their MacGuffin in a sense, is sad, and it was sad in the way that made me think of old Vertigo. You know what I mean? Like there was just something there. It's like, it's grimy. It's like unfortunate. It's very human.
Yeah.
But with the sense of the fantastic.
Sure.
And that this book, I don't know if it's just because we were talking so much about Vertigo or what, not that it was labeled with Vertigo, but it gave me those feels.
Yeah.
It definitely gave me those feels. And it was welcome. Like, I could imagine this not printed on the glossy paper, but on that more of that like newsprinty side. I could feel that. I could feel the texture of this Comixology digital book that I purchased as I was reading it. So it's just, I gotta tell you, like, if you haven't been keeping up with Willow's Poison Ivy book, like me, give this a try, because you might be able to get a good sense of her characterization of Ivy. But also it's just a solid like one shot book.
Nice.
Like, bam, there it is. And because here's the thing, someone's got to own these pages, and I know that. And there are some pages in here where I was like, damn, that's hanging in someone's house right now. Like, look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this image.
Yeah.
Of Swamp Thing. Like,
no, it's great.
Man. Because this is the thing with Swamp Thing, right? You can really go for it, but like, there's so much like shadow and detail and vining and trees and stuff like that. Just a lot of fun with the backgrounds for this one. Also, it's in January. This is taking place.
Oh, great.
So,
it's gonna be cold.
Little Arctic-y. Little winter.
Little Arctic horror.
Little Arctic horror. Little snow horror for me. A lot of fun. It was a good book.
Well, speaking of Vertigo, I didn't read this, but I wanted to point out this is
I saw that too.
The first book.
I saw that.
Oh, okay, great.
Sorry, put it up there. Look at it.
The 4th issue of the sequel series to Jamestown the Fourth's Nice House on the Lake, to Dawn the Vertigo book. The reason Vertigo's back.
Look at it.
Jamestown the Fourth's desperate desire to see it return. Look at that. With the bullet logo. It's a nice sight.
Amazing. It's really well integrated too.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
No, there's thought behind it, which I'm like really glad of. So yeah, I read Wolverine Revenge #3, Greg Capullo and Jonathan Hickman.
Okay.
This is this is that book where Wolverine is getting revenge. It doesn't feel like Hickman's writing this, but whatever. In the wake of some controversy, I suppose. And that's real. Wolverine fights and kills Omega Red, Deadpool, and Colossus in one issue in a book that's normally the same size as the regular book. So, like, how exciting can it be? But Capullo's art is fantastic, as it always is. But what everyone's talking about more or less is the fact that like Capullo went on social media a week or two ago and essentially announced that the colorist was quitting the book. And he didn't do it in a very nice way. Kind of threw him under the bus a little bit. Said something like, he can't handle deadlines. Or what he said was, deadlines aren't for everyone. And, it's unnecessary. Little gruff. I mean, not out of character for Greg Capullo's brand, as a gruff kind of biker type character. But, it's not his place to make that kind of announcement, and unnecessary to
It's just like,
put someone in that position.
why put someone on blast like that?
Because it really reflects poorly on that person, even if it were either exaggerated or untrue. It makes the colorist look bad because people are going to look to Capullo as like a leader in the industry.
I would say it looks bad on everybody.
Oh, it looks bad to everybody, but like it doesn't help.
No, that's completely unnecessary and it's very unprofessional to do that.
Yeah.
But like, dude, like, you want to have that conversation with someone, that's the kind of thing you talk with somebody in person about, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
that's something you hear at a bar at con.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I am not saying that you should go and gossip, but like 9 times out of 10, at least if you do that there, it's not like putting it out to the whole world, because it's like, what? Like, we don't know. We don't know the other side of that.
No, it's just the colorist switches. That's all you need.
Yeah, like, oh, hey, we're saying goodbye to this person and saying hello to this person.
That's it. That's all you
need to say something.
Now I can imagine like there is like you could infer everything about it. Maybe he was like put off or really frustrated, or maybe he's like, that throws off my entire plan. There could be all kinds of reasons for it. We're not here to speculate on that. It's more about like what was done and what was said. He did delete the tweet, put everything on the internet forever, and then kind of doubled down on it, and then eventually just kind of spiraled out of control. He talked about work ethic and all kinds of like it was like, oh, if you were kind of wondering what his intent and thought process was, don't worry, he clarifies by being like, I put in a lot of time. If you expect a social life in this world, you're not going to succeed as well, which kind of plays into what we were talking about earlier about success in the industry and the sacrifices versus work ethic and what that definition is. And again, no place to put that. I mean, if you want to say that in a vacuum, or at the very least, if he wants to say just that, if you wanted to say, hey, I'm in my 60s and I'm making comic books, and I should tell you that if you want to make it in this industry, blah, like that's one thing to say. And while you can disagree or agree or challenge it or agree with him, fine. But in the context of like, my collaborator quit the book, and here's what he maybe told me in confidence or how I interpreted it, and I'm going to link it to that other argument, like that sucks.
Yeah,
it's just not fair.
No, it's not fair, and it's really like,
yeah. Now, I know that, and I think Scott's talked about this on Mike, so it's not telling tales out of school, but Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, when they first met and they first worked together, they butted heads a lot, and they did not work well initially. They found their rhythm, but their personalities clashed.
Sure.
Very early on.
Sure.
And as I understand it, FCO worked with Capullo for a long time. So I can imagine that maybe those two have, or maybe Capullo interpreted their relationship as being one way. Maybe he was like, oh, he wouldn't mind me saying these things. Or maybe he's like, that's how I call him like I sees him, and he wouldn't find it. It's just, there is no subtlety when you type words on a screen and put them on the internet.
Right.
And so regardless of Greg's opinion / intent, it will be interpreted.
Sure.
Because and it's a point that I used to make as an English teacher, where it's like, I don't care if Lois Lowry wrote a friggin' 10-page essay at the end of The Giver about what The Giver's about. She wrote the words are on paper, they're up for grabs. You interpret it how you interpret it. When you make art and you put it in the world, it's up. I'm not saying that Greg's bad opinion on the internet is art, but it is words on a page. And words on a page, whether they are a tweet or a novel or a comic book, are up for interpretation. So you got to be careful about what you post.
Right.
That's not a warning to Greg, it's a warning for you.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a topic of discussion on your comic book review show. It's just like, so, but unfortunately, this like weird book that I don't really like very much is clouded by this other discussion, right? And I don't not like it. I want it. I was really excited about this series. And they were like, Greg Capullo and Jonathan Hickman are going to do a book about Wolverine.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, by the way, it's out of continuity. And by the way, it's also like this weird kind of like post-apocalyptic thing. And oh, by the way, he's going to fight Sabretooth for 2 pages. And he's going to kill like Omega Red in like literally 1 page. And Colossus is a douche nozzle in this book for literally no reason whatsoever, but
Mhm.
also he's gonna die and they're gonna fight, and you're like, I mean, like, and it's not just the like, and putting aside the Capullo thing, the social media Capullo thing, the red band thing.
Are you over it?
Not that I'm over it, but I see the flaws. You are making less book or repackaging extra book for only financial reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And you're confusing the reader,
Wow.
and the art, because now there's two versions. And what is the true version?
Mm-hmm.
What is the pure version? It's one thing if, let's say, you write a scene where you kill the main character's girlfriend and stuff in a refrigerator, and the Comics Code Authority finds it so horrifying and repugnant that they make you change it, and now suddenly they push the door closed a little more, and now it becomes this whole thing. And then when you see the page in reality, you're like, oh, the mystification is gone. It's one thing if it's like censorship.
Mm-hmm.
It's another if it's making extra stuff for the purpose, like you're making DVD extras.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making a very old reference, folks, but like, oh boy, interactive menus as content? Are you kidding me? That's nothing. A scene where like Deadpool burns up in a nuclear reactor instead of just falling into a nuclear reactor, like, just give me the book. At this point, I'm like, why don't you just make an R-rated Wolverine book and go, ladies and gentlemen, this is an R-rated Wolverine book,
like a Black Label book.
Yeah, and just go, you're well. And I was thinking about this earlier. I think Batman Damned really hurt the industry. Like, I think that people are really afraid.
No, I don't think it hurt the industry.
Well, it did incidentally. The idea of DC's horrible reaction to it.
Yes, thank you. I'm like, I don't want any of our shows ever to go on any sort of audio record or video record.
Say that Batman Damned was bad.
Because it wasn't.
But the fallout of Batman Damned hurt the industry. And in a way that all challenging art does, where it scared the straights. It scared the stiffs in boardrooms. Like it screwed things up.
Yeah.
Because like there's no reason not to just have Wolverine Revenge be a Black Label book or a Red Label book or whatever you want to call it. But there's no reason for it. And now there's two books and it's just weird. And also it doesn't matter. So whatever. So, but the art is pretty. It's okay. I really like Capullo's pencils and him doing Wolverine. I'm like, that's a great idea. Like, I would put him on Wolverine before I put him on Spider-Man. I don't,
Oh,
what I mean?
Well, yeah. Like, I could see that.
It's not like, oh man, Greg Capullo could draw anybody. He could, but he needs to draw you need that chin.
Yeah, like he could not do Moon Knight.
No, he could, but I wouldn't want to read it month to month. It would be weird. It would be weird. You need somebody like a Capuccio to give us a Moon Knight.
Yes. Or
David Finch. So yeah, that's fun. Let's talk about some super chats that we got today. Oh wait, what's the book of the week?
What's yours?
Wow. That's tough. Slim pickings today.
Namor? No.
Right? A book I didn't read. Among my choices, I guess I'll go with The Long Halloween, Last Halloween #2.
Wow, more than Captain America.
Well, because Captain America, it's just more of like a snapshot of what's going on instead of it being like exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think so right, like obviously Ultimate X-Men, amazing. Peach Momoko knocking it out of the park, right? Like freaking Namor is just consistently so good. I had such a great like time with that.
But
I feel like we called them giants. I can't count that as my book of the week.
Why not?
Because it's not an individual. Like it's
a book. It came out.
Well, that's really hard then because Poison Ivy Swamp Thing was freaking incredible.
Honorable mention goes to Poison Ivy Swamp.
Feral Trees was absolutely incredible. But if I'm allowed to cheat, because that's what I feel like I'm doing right now. I feel like I'm cheating with this
naturally.
With this call.
Well, feel free.
But we called them giants. Yeah, Kieran Gill and Stephanie Hans.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, you say slim pickings for you. This was a nice week for me.
Yeah, it was
because
it
allowed me to read an entire OGN.
Yeah. But by the way, it is the 5th week, so that's why.
Yeah, but that's fine. 3 of my books still came out this week,
That's true.
plus having a whole OGN, whereas opposed to last week, which was like
10
it was
books.
too much.
Yeah, I agree.
I needed like more spaced out, but they don't know what my personal reading preferences are. But I do feel like there's some crossover between certain titles and the audience for those. I'm just saying.
I agree.
Just saying.
Why don't you read the super chats for today?
What? Why?
Because I'm not feeling well.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Hogzilla says, spine-tingling Spider-Man was a solid episode, especially when it went off the rails. Also, congrats for the CBC award. You guys have earned it.
Thank you, Hogzilla. I forgot to mention that. The CBC awards were this past weekend. If you're curious, just Google CBC Comic Awards on YouTube and you'll find it. But we were nominated, both this channel, ComicPop Returns. We won actually for Best Review Channel, which I thought was kind of awesome.
Yay,
because we worked very hard on this.
That's really, I was like, what?
Yeah, and we also, and Back Issues won an award for the first time ever, so that's very nice as well over on the main channel.
Your award-winning shows.
Yeah, we have award,
and
you have an
your
award-winning show
comic
too.
book that you wrote.
I also wrote Terminator, yes, as a backup. And by the way, that's coming out in another couple of weeks, so check that out. But yes, CBC Awards, big thanks for them. Thanks mostly to the audience for voting for us and for helping us win these awards. They're actually going to mail them to us. We're going to get like physical awards, which will be on the set.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. I moved the windows all around so that I could read these better.
Yeah.
Bryce Harriet saying, hello, how are you? DC, please stop putting out so many great books. My wallet can only handle so much. Marvel, I'm only reading Ultimate, so we're good.
We're good.
It's amazing. I feel you. But I always feel like that's the ebb and flow of Marvel and DC, which I love.
Just wait.
Yep. It all goes around. I love it. Psycho Red coming in saying platinum equals pre-golden age, golden age, silver age, bronze age, starts with Dark Knight Returns, runs until Comixology's wide release or March 2020, and now modern age.
Okay.
That's their take on
Right,
our earlier discussion.
I appreciate anybody tossing out a thought.
Because I didn't.
No.
Heartless Fang coming in saying, I've had these questions about our age after every art history class I've had. We refer to everything from the 70s onward as contemporary modern, but who decides what age is what is hard?
It's true. No, it is hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Or anybody
it's
would
the hard that makes it great.
King of New York says, hope you all had a fantastic weekend. That's all.
You too, my liege.
Heartless Fang coming back in saying, otherwise, would you guys ever do any Hickman/Mark Waid Fantastic Four on the couch? You guys bring so much joy to life and comics as usual.
Thank you, Fang. Yeah, I mean, they're all up for grabs, man.
Neon Knight Rider saying, we're obviously are in the dark age of comics.
I beg to differ.
Thank you so much to Avenger0398 for your very nice super chat.
Thank you very much.
You. Club Remix saying was my first New York Comic Con. Sorry I missed your meetup. Best part, I got to hang out with 3 guys from my escape room meetup group and 1 from my board game meetup group.
Nice.
Very nice. So we went to for a friend's birthday, we went to our room escape close to us.
As we are wont to do, by the way.
We occasionally like to do them. We're not part of any groups or anything
mostly
like
to see if we could like crush it, which we always do. Sometimes.
We don't always crush it.
No, we failed 1
out
of the rest of them. 1 out of like 12.
Yes, we've done very good for ourselves, but like with differing like effects of like time and stuff like that.
Yeah, sometimes we like barely manage to get out.
But like, and or like, hints and stuff like that. I think we only needed 1 hint, and the hint wasn't something we asked for. It was something that like was obscured.
Yes.
And so they had to be like, look over there. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Regardless, finish the room. Person comes to get us. They open the door, and it was one of the people who had helped to design the space, like to design this room and like work through it. It was one of the game masters, I guess. And he was like, "Oh, I don't usually like just like blow smoke up people's butts, but like you guys like crushed it." And it was so complimentary. I'm like, I have to. We're telling the story.
Yeah,
we are going to blow smoke up our own.
Why
because
not?
like, yay us, but like that was the first time it's ever happened.
Yeah, and it was a tough room.
It felt so good. It
Yeah.
felt so good though. It was so nice. Avenger 0398 coming back saying, hey, Sal and Tiff, I've almost completed my first comic collection of the first 12 issues of the Jim Lee Claremont 1991 run. Do you have any suggestions on a book I should collect next?
I mean, you got to pick a book that you care about, or at least a character that you're interested in. I mean, Tiffany has like almost every issue of the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider run.
I do. And I've got a lot of Doctor Strange, and I'll randomly pick up single issues of Sandman.
Yeah, like you gotta pick something that's doable, especially if it's gonna be your next one. Like I know some people who like are trying to collect every issue of Amazing Spider-Man, which is a doable task, but it's also a hard task. Like if you started from now, you're gonna go all the way to like the 80s and have no problem. But eventually you're gonna hit a character, like you're gonna get to a Carnage appearance, or you're gonna hit a Black Cat appearance, or you're gonna get into the 60s, and then it's gonna get harder. And the reason I even bring that up is because like you could sell it. Like the thing is, an entire run of Amazing Spider-Man will net you thousands of dollars. Whereas if you got every issue of Force Works, now you have every issue of Force Works.
But does Force work?
I think we all know it does, at least for a little while.
For a tiny bit of time. All right, Bear Farmer coming in saying, ComicPop, woo!
Woo!
Are you excited for AVA?
Of course.
Issue 2 is around the corner.
I know.
I've been excited. I was reading Last Night on Earth by Snyder today, and I realized you've never done a video on it. Any interest?
Yeah, I thought about it. I did not like it, so we'll see.
It's funny because like every once in a while you'll mention a book that you're going to do, and I don't remember the title of, and I almost never remember the title of that Snyder run that book that you're talking about. So I think it's that one. I was like, oh, he's doing that, and I'm like, no, it's not.
Joker's in a jar.
Yeah, I know what that is. I know what it is, but like
okay.
every once in a while, it'll say a book I'm not familiar with that you're thinking about doing, and I'm like, oh, it's that one. And I'm like, wait, no, it's not that one.
No.
Revolutionary Dragon saying, hey, Comic Pop, when 6160 is gone, what characters do you think will make it to 616? Also, do you think that 6160 will have its own maker? I think it'll be Black Panther.
I don't think it's going anywhere. I think that it's here to stay, because it's too exciting to see where it goes after the maker is deposed, if he is. Otherwise, no, I don't think. I don't think there's like a secret maker.
Interesting. Okay.
It'll probably be Reed, like the Reed that was forced to be Doom.
The Reed that would be Doom. Dan V900. I'll shout out Redcoat 7, number 7, which has my favorite lines of any comic last week. Allow yourself happiness, despite what you believe. You do deserve it.
Well, that's fair.
That's nice. I like
nice.
that. That's a nice sentiment.
Yeah, nice positive message.
That was, there was a very positive message in We Called Them Giants too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm not gonna ruin it for you.
No, don't.
I'm not gonna do
Scroll
that.
down, there's some more.
There are. Look at that. It's now coming in clutch there. Thank you, Near Ravel, saying, just wanted to say that the whole discussion this week really resonated with me and my current feelings towards the comic industry. Good to know I'm not alone in that. Hey, you're not alone.
No.
You're hanging out with us.
Yeah, you're doing the show. So let's talk about some books that are coming out this week. What do you think you should check out? Obviously, Batman 154 from Chip Zdarsky. I'm intrigued.
You're intrigued?
Ultimates number 6. Hooray. And also, of course, Absolute Superman is finally coming out, which means we can finally know what the hell this book is about.
Yeah.
I was able to read the first 5 pages. I think they were up on like Adventures of Poor Taste or something like that. So like, I know at least a little bit. I won't give anything away, but I'm hyped. Looks great.
Look, I made it happen.
Yeah, way to go. It's exciting. We're going to talk. That's going to be the cover of the book or of the episodes next week.
I figure as much.
Green Arrow Annual number 1 is dropping, or at least Green Arrow 2024 Annual number 1. Get this.
Really?
Pick this up.
Why?
Please.
Why can't I find this?
Just because you have no idea. You have no idea what this book has. There's a double page splash. I'm like, I need this. And it turns out that I think that the artist works in digitals only. So you can't own it. Like Josh was like, I need this. And he's like, I only work in digital. You can't have it.
You cannot have your book.
Yeah, no.
I'm going to do this one.
Of course, it's great. Yeah, no, I do like that book, though. But, Avengers versus Aliens is dropping. Number 2, finally. Hell yes. Hooray.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
I
so
was reading
hyped.
this with you.
Yeah, it's a great series, or at least it was a really exciting debut. I'm very excited about seeing where it goes. I think there's only like one more issue left.
Okay.
Birds of Prey 15. I love Birds of Prey. If you didn't already, you should check out my chat with Kelly Thompson. She's on the show. It's really cool to have her. She was super awesome and fun to talk to, and hopefully she'll be back. But otherwise, it was great to talk about Birds of Prey. I love that book. I'm going to try out Batgirl number 1. I've only been seeing like hype about it / enthusiasm. This is from Tate Bromble and Takashi Miyazawa. I'm going to see how this goes. It's Cassie Kane as Batwoman again, or Batgirl.
Takashi.
Oh, okay. I'm not from there, so I don't know. Yeah, there's more. Spider-Man Black, White and Blood, or whatever the hell. We'll see. I might, if I have time, I'll take a look at it.
You have time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
God.
run a business.
I know you do. I thought this was one of those like
anthology books, but it's
yeah
by David Michelinie.
Wow, interesting.
I know, right?
You got anything else?
I don't think so.
Should we take a little scroll? You never come down this area. This is where I am sometimes. I'm
Yeah,
like,
no, I'm not in the
"Whoa."
nosebleed section. Are you kidding me?
Oh, another one of the Creature Commandos issues is coming out. I don't know if I'm going to try another issue of that. I didn't love the first issue.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't necessarily for me.
Fair.
I don't know. I just didn't. I didn't feel like a strong like resonation. Yeah. I wanted to see who's doing this. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, for me this week is gonna be Saga number 70, written by Brian K. Vaughan with art by Fiona Staples. Obviously, got to get that. Get it. And I'll also be grabbing X-Force number 5, written by Jeff Thorne with art by Marcus Toe. That's gonna be coming out. Behold,
5 whole issues of the same creative team. This is from a Marvel book. What are we in a utopia at this point?
What are you talking about?
I'm amazed. I'm excited. It's great. I like this book.
And then I'm also going to be grabbing Plastic Man No More, written by Chris Cantwell with art by Jacob Edgar.
Nice.
Yeah, I the first issue I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, issue 3, let's check it out. Let's see what's going on. I can't remember if this is
It's the penultimate.
That's it. It is. Yeah, this is the penultimate one, which makes sense. Will he meld? Will he melt? Who knows?
Who knows?
Let's find out together.
Yes.
We also got another super chat in here, Club Remix, saying, what do you think a hero has to do to be considered an anti-hero? I personally think he has to purposely murder an innocent man like Wolverine and Namor.
I don't know. That's interesting. I think an anti-hero just goes against the establishment. That's it's a counterculture hero. So it's somebody who flies in the face of heroic tactics. Typically, like an anti-hero, somebody who will cross that line is usually the Marvel definition of an anti-hero for me. Has always been a character who will cross the line. Ironically, they also never do cross the line when they're actually considered an anti-hero. Like Ghost Rider will kill, but you never see him do it. Punisher, however, does, and he's not so much an anti-hero as he is a psychopath. But still, he was in that camp back in the day. Wolverine, anti-hero, willing to kill, sometimes does. That's really how I define it. At this point, really, like the most basic definition is one who will kill. That's an anti-hero.
Okay. I was just looking at this. I might pick this up.
Yeah, I mean, good team.
There's a book coming out from Dark Horse called FML number 1, written by Kelly Sue DeConnick with art by David Lopez. Yeah, like angsty teen witchcraft. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. Well, what else is there from Tiffany this week?
I think we're gonna stream tomorrow. How are we feeling about that, folks? Are we feeling up for a stream tomorrow or not?
Big day tomorrow.
Big day tomorrow. Listen, no matter what your opinions are, please just go out and vote. If you are in the continental or you're in the U.S. at all, just please go vote, regardless of what your opinions are. We don't need to know what they are.
I don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear what your opinions are, but please go and make sure that you vote. I think that's super important, regardless, again, of your decision. Please don't share it with us.
Yes.
Please just go vote. Please just get out there and vote if you haven't already. And I'm like I said, we'll see if we want to have a stream. I don't know what the vibes will be for people. But I do want to get back to Silent Hill because Danielle's playing with me and she was in the hospital and I don't want to do that.
No. The level of the hospital. Danielle was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. That came out wrong. We were in the hospital level. Listen, I can't think Silent Hill 2 without thinking of the hospital level. And I recognize the fact that not everyone
would immediately know that
Silent Hill all the time, like I do. Other than that, yeah, I think that's it. It was like we're gonna be playing. Hopefully, we'll be playing tomorrow and Wednesday because you guys will be shooting back issues, and I will theoretically need to be there.
If I'm well enough, in
theory,
yeah.
Oh, if not, I'm gonna have to host.
No, there's no time.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. But we want to thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you to our super chatters for sponsoring today's show. Thanks to the chat for being cool and respectful. We'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to check out Tiffany on twitch.tv/ComicPop or youtube.com/ComicPop Plays. And subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, and we'll see you guys next time with another episode. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
So long, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. 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 Bye.